What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Destroy coming at you with a new video going over quarterbacks and running backs and making my picks here on Wednesday. It's not going to be my final picks, but it's going to be over the quarterbacks that I am really interested in. So basically, Patrick Mahomes is 7,100. I don't think I'm going to get to Patrick Mahomes because of his price. There's a couple options just a little bit cheaper that opens up a little more possibilities for me of my liking for other positions. Um, but he's not a bad play. Granted, he's going against Denver's defense, which has been really, really elite. Um, I mean, they've been playing really good, especially with Drew Lock, and they've been putting points on the boards, and quarterbacks have had to come back, like Deshaun Watson did last week, and making teams throw the ball. So Patrick Mahomes, like I said, it's not a bad play. You can see the how much yardage, the touchdowns, everything Denver does against quarterbacks. But it's Patrick Mahomes. That offense is still elite. If he's healthy, it makes me confident in my Kansas City player. Russell Wilson, I don't really like here against Carolina just because they already have a playoff spot. I really like Chris Carson though. Um, I don't like Russell Wilson. I think there's other options at quarterback, like I said. So let's go over them. One, if Jameis Winston plays, he definitely has interest for me against Detroit. Detroit's defense is just terrible, and Jameis Winston is somebody that consistently puts up points. My only concern here is with his thumb, um, of how that's going to affect his throwing, his mindset, all of that. You look at his numbers, and he just puts up decent numbers all year. One of the problems I have though with Jameis this week is Mike Evans is gone. He is done for the season. So he only has Chris Godwin, and then he has to work with Bernard Perriman, which also brings interest to another player that I will talk about either tomorrow or Friday, for the wide receiver tight end position of who I'm really interested in. So if he plays, yes, he's probably the most expensive quarterback I'm going to go after. Deshaun Watson, another player that I really, really like this week. You look at his throwing attempts last week against Denver, 50. He can easily do that again this week. The reason being is Tennessee has a defense that's very exploitable. They have times of when they've been really, really good, though. But Deshaun Watson has been very impressive this season. You look at his numbers on the away games this year, and it shouldn't really scare you off the 10-6 interception rate. Deshaun Watson has been pretty consistent all year. I'd like to say. You look at his numbers, I'd say they're decently consistent. And if Tennessee scores the way they score, then Deshaun Watson is yet again going to have to throw the ball a good 30 to 40 times plus. So I'm perfectly fine playing that, and vice versa. I'm fine with playing Ryan Tannehill. I mean, you look at Tennessee's numbers since Tannehill has taken over the starting quarterback position, and they're very, very, very impressive. He's had a couple shaky games, but the team is still winning. Derrick Henry is, if Derrick Henry wasn't playing the way he's been playing, Tannehill's numbers wouldn't be as shaky sometimes. But I mean, you look what the man has done in the last 4 games of when he's thrown 9 touchdowns and 1 interception. Very doable again. I'm not too high on him though. Like I'm fine with if I need a 6,500 quarterback here, fine with playing him. But I'd probably rather get to Watson or Winston here. Baker Mayfield against Arizona. Baker Mayfield's interesting. I've been the highest person on Baker Mayfield. It's just hard. It's so hard to commit to this Cleveland offense. Freddie Kitchens, I can't wait to see him go. If Odell leaves, so be it. Let him leave too. This offense just needs a coach that knows how to run it. There's too many weapons on that offense for them to be, one game above 500. The team just has way too much talent. But I'm going to avoid Baker Mayfield this week. Aaron Rodgers against Chicago. I'm going to avoid Aaron Rodgers against Chicago just because it's going to be a colder game. It's going to be a really good defensive game, in my opinion. You look at week 1 when they played, and granted, it was at Chicago. And it was only 10-3. Rodgers did his normal 30 pass attempts, somewhere around there, had a decent game. But the Bears are really fighting for a playoff spot. They have to win 2 out of their next 3 games and have Minnesota lose 2 out of the next 3. So they're going to be playing really, really locked down. Aaron Rodgers is still going to do what Aaron Rodgers does no matter what. Devontae Adams probably have a really good game, but there's just other options that I feel more confident with, of throwing a few touchdowns and getting close to the 300-yard bonus. Dak Prescott is not one of them. Against the Rams defense has been getting really good. Dak Prescott in that offense has been really good too, especially if they're all healthy. I mean, you look at his fantasy point numbers, his DraftKings point numbers for home games and away games, and there's a big difference. There is. But at the same time, it is the Rams, and the Rams are another team that's going to be fighting just as well as Dallas is. So just not too high on them. Ryan Fitzpatrick is very interesting to me. He's 6,200 playing against the Giants. And you look at some of the numbers he's put up. Granted, the team is playing better with Fitzpatrick and just the team in general. But if they're without Devontae Parker, I'm not too high on Miami as I normally would be. A fantasy point wise, there's only one player from Miami that I'm targeting this week, if possible. And it's not Ryan Fitzpatrick, and it's not Laird. Carson Wentz against Washington. Carson Wentz, yeah, I mean, the man is just inconsistently terrible. Granted, he has so many injuries. That team has so many injuries. They'd be really better off if you gave him Jordan Howard, Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson. That offense would be completely different. Washington's defense has been playing pretty average. Average in a good way, though, for what they have on that defense. Their defense was really shaky in the beginning, but I think they've started to clean some things up. With the amount of weapons Carson Wentz has, I just can't see him having the good game. Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard bring interest to me, but not Carson Wentz. Jared Goff against Dallas. I do not like Jared Goff against Dallas. He's a quarterback who's just not fantasy point good. One of the quarterbacks that I really like and I'm really targeting this week is Jimmy Garoppolo against Atlanta. With what he just did last week, it just brings too much interest to me. You look at the beginning season numbers, and they were winning games because of their defense, which was playing so good, but he did what he needed to do when he needed to do it, and he is Emmanuel Sanders now. That offense is healthy. He has 3 running backs. The running backs I could see stealing a couple touchdowns away from him, but it's Atlanta's defense when they're banged up. Just brings a lot of love for me, so he's definitely one of the quarterbacks I like the most. Tom Brady against Cincinnati. No. James White is another running back that I'm really liking this week against Cincinnati, but I'm not liking Tom Brady and pretty much any New England wide receiver right now. Mitchell Trubisky has been playing phenomenal, and I love it. Like I continue to say, I'm a Bears fan. You just look at his numbers the last 3 games, and they're really impressive. But like I said, it's going to be a defensive game, and I'm just not too confident on Trubisky here on the road in a huge divisional playoff mattering game. Kirk Cousins against the Chargers. If Thielen's there, I like Minnesota's offense against the Chargers. The Chargers defense has been all over the place, and they should be really, really elite with getting their Pro Bowl safety back, like one of the best safeties in the game, James, but they just haven't looked there yet, and maybe that's just because he's getting back to the team. But yeah, they've been very very vulnerable at times. It's just Kirk Cousins without Adam Thielen just doesn't bring a whole lot to me. Stephon Diggs and Dalvin Cook being his top 2 targets doesn't make me love Kirk Cousins. It makes me love, Dalvin Cook and Stephon Diggs. Matt Ryan against the 49ers, I'm not even going to touch. Matt Ryan is a fantasy point god sometimes, but not against San Francisco. What Drew Brees and Lamar Jackson have done in San Francisco is not what Matt Ryan is going to do to San Francisco. San Francisco's defense is going to completely destroy Atlanta. I'll say that right now. If Atlanta scores more than 21 points, I will be impressed. I will be so impressed. Drew Lock against Kansas City is a very big toss-up. Like I said, I've liked what I've seen from Drew Lock so far. Looked very impressive. He's got another good week against Kansas City here. But I'm not targeting Drew Lock from Denver. I'm targeting Philip Lindsay. Kyler Murray against Cleveland, I'm not going to touch that either. Kyler Murray and that offense has been way too disappointing for the amount of talent they have, the coaching they have, the schemes. It's just very disappointing. Derek Carr just can't put up fantasy points no matter what. Philip Rivers against Minnesota. Philip Rivers has been just... Oh, man. Just watching the clip, you'll love Philip Rivers of when he trash talks the defender, but he's yet to have a 30-plus fantasy point game with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Melvin Gordon, Hunter Henry. That offense should literally get you 30-plus fantasy points a game. You should be throwing 3 to 4 touchdowns a game. And I just can't see that against Minnesota. Of all games, I can't see it against Minnesota. You could go after Minshew here. The only problem is what I can see here is if Minshew is starting to play bad, I could see Nick Foles come in. I really could. So I'm probably going to stay away from them. Minshew, Foles, going to stay away from both of them, no matter who's starting or who's on the bench. Kyle Allen, I'm going to stay away from for Seattle just because that offense, the team is the season's done. They just got rid of their coach. Look at his numbers. He's put up 20-plus points a game, and he's gone down in price from the last 3 weeks. But he's got a decently good defense matchup here. And Seattle should put points on against Carolina. And I think Christian McCaffrey is going to see just a slight decrease in volume this week just because they don't want him to screw anything up for next season. But you could never know with injuries. Blow against Tampa Bay is very interesting too. He's 5,300. You look at his numbers. He airs the ball out a lot. I'll say that. He does. He's faced 2 divisional teams, 2 teams that have decent pass defense. He's going against a team that has a terrible pass defense, but a good run defense. So they're going to have to throw the ball. Their season's done also. Maybe they just go all out. With Marvin Jones Jr. gone, though, I don't know how you can possibly blow as much versus his receivers. So staying away from him. Eli Manning against Miami. Let me just say this. You got to give props for Eli Manning coming out and do what he did last week. But I'm going to stay away from Miami. There's a reason. The only other people, Andy Dalton against New England. Yeah, never. And then Dwayne Haskins against Philly. Yeah, no. He has yet to do anything. I would not touch him at all. But I am going to pick my quarterback, guys. As of right now, it's going to be Jimmy G. Jimmy G is my quarterback. Like I said, with Christian McCaffrey, his volume is just, in my opinion, a lot of people's opinions, his volume is going to decrease. It's towards the end of the season. They're playing, like I said, a fairly good team. Defensively, offensively, that team is really good. there's nothing really to play for except for pride, except for maybe boosting stats for some of their players, just building chemistry with that offense. That's the only thing. So Christian McCaffrey's going to see a slight decrease in volume here. His price is still good. But there's a couple other options I'd rather get to. Dalvin Cook is one of them against the Chargers. He's been really, really, really good this year. It's nice to see him have a good full bounce back year. And he's been the top performer. I'll say there's a different word I want to say, but I can't think of it. But Dalvin Cook is definitely that guy in Minnesota. So I like Dalvin Cook at 8,900. He's probably the only running back I'm going to pay above 8K for. I don't think I'm going to go for Derrick Henry here against Houston. Nick Chubb, I'm going to stay away from. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I can't. It's hard for me in cash to play running back who is going to share a good portion of snaps. It's hard because they could possibly steal touchdowns, possibly steal a big play, and if that other running back is playing, really good, has some good rushes, they're going to give that other running back the ball. So it's a big toss up there, and I hate playing toss ups, especially in cash. So I'm going to stay away from Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Ezekiel Elliott just hasn't done what he's been doing so far in the NFL, but towards the end of the season, we all know running backs start to see their numbers increase, and we have seen his numbers increase. When you look at his numbers in the beginning of the season compared to now, we have yet to see him get a 100-yard game since week 9. So yeah, I'm not liking Ezekiel Elliott here, especially against the Rams defense. But one of the running backs I love this week is Saquon Barkley against Miami. Miami, we all know, has a terrible defense. Saquon Barkley has, yet to see a 100-yard rushing game since week 2 against Buffalo, of all teams. And this is very doable. They don't want to put that much pressure on Eli Manning. Saquon can see a huge game here. Their team is, they're done for the season. But you look at his numbers with Eli versus Rosen, and he just played statistically better with Manning. Granted, last week was just I don't know. Philly's rush defense did what they needed to do, but Miami is just a terrible rush defense, and I just love Saquon this week at 7,700 of all prices. Leonard Fournette is a big iffy for me. I think he's a good play. 7,600 is really good for him. My only problem is the quarterback situation. That is my only problem. His numbers were really consistent when Minshew was there as quarterback, especially with getting receptions. But with Foles, it's just changed. So that quarterback situation is definitely just bringing me away from most Jacksonville players. Maybe a receiver is the only one that I'm liking here fully. Like I said, Fournette's not a bad play. I just rather go, especially you look at Chris Carson. Chris Carson's going to be without Penny playing against Carolina. And, like I said, later games, these running backs are going to start to get carries. We have seen Carson without Penny play bad, though, which kind of worries me, but it doesn't worry me enough to get away from him. So he's definitely one of the running backs I'm really targeting. Aaron Jones, if you feel Aaron Jones to be confident enough to go into big divisional game and do more than what he did week 1 against the Bears, and so be it. You will be a very small portion of players. They are going to run the ball a lot. But with a big guy like Aaron Jones, I don't think he's going to do anything spectacular against the Bears again. I could see him having more yards than he did against the Bears in week 1, especially being home in a really, really cold game to where they're going to run the ball more. But I can't see him having a 20-plus point fantasy game here. What you need if you're paying somebody over 7,000. Josh Jacobs, I can't see him play. I really can't with a broken shoulder. I like Washington, though. I really do. Austin Eckler, I'm I mean, man, he's been my guy all year. I just loved looking at his numbers. He's had one bad game, and that was against Pittsburgh. But other than that, he's been very, very impressive. Granted, his price is, I think, way too high. But yet again, it's a situation of where uh, it's a big split running back situation, and I just can't see the Chargers throwing the ball to Eckler and Eckler getting an impressive amount of yards and or a touchdown or two against Minnesota this week. So I'm probably going to stay away from Eckler and Gordon for the most part. Kareem Hunt, we talked about. Joe Mixon, I hope to see his percentage at 0.0. I really do. It's not going to be, there's going to be that one sick guy that wants to put his faith into Joe Mixon. And if you do, and if it pays off, you are a god, but I can't see it paying off here. Todd Gurley against Dallas. Todd Gurley, I think, is, oh man, it's hard to say because they're finally starting to give Todd Gurley the ball. And Dallas's, rush game has been sloppy. And I'll say for right now, I have interest in Gurley. Not a whole lot, but at 6,000, it makes me look at him and feel like I could play him confidently here against Dallas. Miles Sanders against Washington, I don't like anymore. If Jordan Howard is expected to play, as far as I know, against Washington. Yeah. Jordan Howard's expected to play against Washington, and one of the things that we could just go, let's find Philly really quick. Look at the running backs. This is who they have as running backs. They have Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, Ajayi, and then who? Boston Scott. Boston Scott that scored 24.8 fantasy points. And I believe all of it was in the second half. Yeah. So I'm gonna stay away from Philly running backs. Maybe Jordan Howard I go, but I think I don't know, that situation is just all over the place. Devontae Freeman, 100% staying away from that. I won't even look at that. One of the interesting plays that I think is definitely worth a look is Philip Lindsay against Kansas City. Look what he did against Kansas City in Week 7. Denver scored 6 points. Kansas City scored 30. And he had 1 reception. Now let's go and put Drew Lock in the game and then put Philip Lindsay, and that's a different story. He's definitely got me interested a whole hell of a lot at 5,600, definitely. David Montgomery, I'm not that interested in. Granted, I am a Bears fan. I like what he's done lately. But I just can't see him being huge in this game. I mean, you can go and look at Week 1, and you could say, oh man, he didn't do anything. That's when they had 3 running backs, though. That's the situation. So he is going to get more carries, more targets, stuff like that. But Tariq Cohen's definitely the running back to look at now for Chicago versus David Montgomery. James White, like I said, is probably one of my favorite running backs this week at 5,400 against Cincinnati, just because he gets the receptions that Sony Michel doesn't get, and he gets those touchdowns Sony Michel doesn't get. So yeah, I'm definitely really high on James White, especially at 5,400. It's not like a price point that's going to kill you. Probably not going to go to any San Francisco running back here. It's very weird, that whole running back situation. So I'm probably going to stay away from that. Granted, there's probably a good play in there against Atlanta, but I'm just going to stay away from it. So Sony Michel, like I said, just go James White. Just stay away. Stay away from Sony Michel. Just stay away. Kenyon Drake, definitely not going to touch him against Cleveland. He had a couple good weeks when he first joined Arizona, but it's Kenyon Drake. He's not anybody that should fly on your charts, and he's definitely not flying on mine. Jordan Howard, like I said, if I'm picking a running back, sorry about that. If I'm picking a running back from Philly, it's going to be Jordan Howard. Had a nice, impressive 7.3 yards per rush against Washington, a couple receptions, stuff like that. And he's definitely doing what he could have done if he was fully healthy, been the number one running back all season. He'd definitely get his 1,000 yards again. And I could see him getting the touchdowns here against Washington, 4,900. If he is healthy, fully healthy, with no limitations, I really like Jordan Howard, 4,900. Like I said, with the Bears situation, I'd prefer going Cohen and Montgomery if you're going to go Bears running back. I'm just not too high on uh, that whole game. I'm probably going to stay away from most of it. Kansas City running backs, like I say every week, just look at the injuries to see who to play. And even then, it's still not a very good game script for running backs for Kansas City. Yeah. So Washington here is definitely a very big interest for me. Going against Jacksonville, if Josh Jacobs is out, I could see this game not being a very high scoring game. I could see it being a decent scoring game. Both teams getting about 20, 21, somewhere around there. So Washington's going to get some carries. He got 14 carries in his first game without Josh Jacobs and got another 6 receptions. He is a really good receiving back, I will say that. So I'm if you need to pay down, if you really need a running back for cheap, Washington is one of them. The other one I want to point out is Ronald Jones, the second here. It's 4,600. Granted, he hasn't had a lot of spectacular games this year, but they're playing Detroit. And with Jameis having a broken thumb, Mike Evans being out, I could see a couple more carries, especially against a terrible Detroit defense and Tampa Bay's terrible defense. I could see Ronald Jones II getting some touchdowns here. At least one. I could see him getting a good 50-plus yard game here. So he definitely also has interest in me. It's basically it for who I'm targeting. Everybody else is, pretty much just a huge toss-up or just got too much risk. Like Adrian Peterson against Philly. Granted, he's going to be the only running back, basically. Chris Thompson is there, but Adrian Peterson's going to get the carries. It's just Philly's defense, rush defense is pretty good, and they're more than likely going to shut out Washington here. So 2 running backs I'm going to put in my lineup right now. One is going to be Saquon, and we're going to go down just a little. I think the other running back I'm going to put in is James White. Those are going to be my 2 running backs as of now. There's, like I said, some other running backs I like, but those are definitely the running backs that are getting my most attention without breaking my bank. So hope you guys did enjoy the video. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe to just show some support. And definitely give us a follow on Twitter at Astrodfs, guys. Thank you all for watching.